My parents did something I just thought was cruel and unusual punishment. They, would hide their gifts inside their closets. I don't know why any parent would put this kind of temptation in front of a kid, but they did. And we would go in there when they weren't home, and I don't think they ever knew we would do this kind of stuff, but we would look through the gifts. Even if they were wrapped, we would like pull the corners away, trying to figure out what was in there. And this particular year, I remember that there was this package that was wrapped, and it was exactly like the Dukes of Hazzard Hot Wheels race car kit with the loop-de-doo. I was so excited, I couldn't resist. I peeled back the stuff, and I found out that it was in there. It was the deal. That's what I was getting for Christmas. I was so excited, and of course I tried to tape it all back up. My skills weren't very good back then as far as like hiding the tape marks and all that, but I did it. I put it all back together, and then on Christmas morning that year, I remember getting up, and you would think that all the excitement would be gone because I knew what was coming, but no, I was still excited about this. I was floored that I was getting this, Dukes of Hazzard kit because this is what I dreamed about. This is what I wanted. And so when I got that package, I remember getting it, opening it up, and ripping it all open, and setting the whole deal up with the loop-de-doo and how cool it was. And I played with that thing until my heart's desire was filled. And so I must have played with it for like 38 minutes. And then I realized this was dumb. I mean, this thing just, all it did was go round and round. Sure, it had the cool loop-de-doo, but the truth of the matter is that the thing fell off the track more than it stayed in the track, and it really wasn't so cool. And it wasn't so cool because all of a sudden I realized I made a tragic mistake, because what I really should have asked for Christmas was the G.I. Joe Super Loader Bazooka gun that year. That's how coveting works. That's how these unchecked, unbridled desires flesh out in our life. I'm 38 years old now, and it's no different than when I was a kid. You want something so bad that you're just miserable until you get it, and then once you get it, you're still left empty inside. You still have this hole inside of you. I mean, I remember wanting my first car. Then once I got my first car, it's like 2 months later, I wanted a better one. I wanted one without rust on it. Or maybe you get that first house and you go, this is it. My life is complete. I'll never be this happy again in my life. And then 3 months later, you're just going, man, this doesn't cut it anymore. I want something bigger. I want something better. I want something different in life. The truth of the matter is that that's how it works. With coveting, with envy, with jealousy, that at the end of the day, we're still left holding the bag because it doesn't deliver the goods. King Solomon found this out in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 2. He starts talking about how he undertook all of these incredible projects. He says he built vineyards and houses for himself and palaces, and he bought maidservants, and he bought slaves, and he had everything that the human heart could possibly desire. It says he had a harem full of women, and he had more money than anybody who had come before him. He had amassed great wealth, and he spent it lavishly on himself. But at the end of the day, in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, he says these words. He says, "But as I looked at everything that I had worked so hard to accomplish, it was all so meaningless. It was a chasing after the wind. There was nothing really worthwhile in it." And it's the same thing with you and I. We can think that by running after stuff that we can somehow fill ourselves up, that we can somehow be satisfied, and we can't. And it goes on, and the cycle never ever stops. And that really brings us to our third caveat with this whole idea of coveting. You see, the problem with coveting, ultimately, when we desire something to fill us up, something to make us happy, is we displace God. And only God can meet our deepest needs. Only God can really satisfy us. And anything short of a relationship with Him is just a cheap, pathetic substitute that at best gives us momentary pleasure and satisfaction. The famed philosopher and mathematician, a guy named Blaise Pascal, once said this. He says, "Inside the heart of every man is a God-shaped hole." And it's a very interesting thought. He says all of the longings in our life, all the things that we run after, all of the stuff of life, the achievements, the educations, the relationships, and the fame, the fortune, everything that we run after in life, he says ultimately at the end of the day still does not satisfy us, because there is a God-shaped hole stamped into the heart of every single person. As one writer put it, he said, that we're always looking for a new experience, a new acquisition, a new education level, a new toy, a new relationship, to do more than momentarily satisfy this insatiable pain inside of us. But friends, that will never happen, because the only way to be content, the only way to truly be satisfied and to have this God-shaped hole filled is to have God fill that hole. And one of the problems I see with people is that they try God, or they get just enough of God to make them feel guilty. They don't give God all of themselves. They never come to God fully devoted, and it just leaves them feeling only partially satisfied. And God is never allowed to fill them up completely and to satisfy their deepest desires and longing. And so you have this young guy, he comes to Jesus, and he's looking for life. And Jesus is the one who could give it to him. And I think he knows that. That's why he came in the first place, right? And if I could just kind of paraphrase the whole thing, he essentially says, Jesus, I've tried all of that. I've had a little bit of religion in my life. I've had a little bit of God. I've had a little bit of spirituality. And essentially Jesus says, that's the whole problem. That's the whole deal. That you can never be filled. You can never find real contentment in life. There will always be another longing in your life until you come to me, until you give your heart fully devoted to me. And really, what was Jesus doing here? He was sending us right back to the first commandment that says, put me first, where God says, have nothing in front of me. He's saying, do a gut check in your life. Make sure there's nothing that stands between me and you. Nothing. He says, put me first in your life. You know, I heard this story about this rich industrialist who was out one day walking along the beach, and he was enjoying the fruits of his labor. He's enjoying his money, his time, and as he's walking along, he sees this local fisherman who pulls up his little boat to the shore, and he kind of flops all his stuff out, and he's just kind of laying there, just reading and just kind of doing whatever and chilling out, and this kind of irked this rich guy. This rich guy is a hard worker, and he notices that it's like only 11 o'clock in the morning. And why is this guy not going out trying to make some money? Why isn't he out trying to make a living? Because obviously the guy doesn't have much. And so he kind of says to this fisherman, he goes, what are you doing? Why are you not out fishing? Why aren't you, going out working? You still got a half a day left. And this fisherman guy says, he goes, why? Why would I do that? And the rich guy is kind of a little taken back by this. He goes, well, because you could go out and make more money. And the fisherman goes, well, why would I want to do that? And the guy goes, well, so you can make more money so that you can buy a bigger boat. And then the fisherman goes, well, why would I want to work harder and make more money to buy a bigger boat? And the rich guy was like, well, because if you worked harder and you could make more money and you could buy a bigger boat and your family could have more stuff, and maybe you could end up buying another boat, and before you know it, you could be like me and you could own a fleet of boats, you can own an empire, and you can make all kinds of money. And then this fisherman goes, well, why would I want to do all that? And the rich guy was, well, so that you could be like me and you can take time off in life and you can relax on the beach and enjoy the fruits of your labor. And then this fisherman goes, what do you think I'm doing now? What do you think I'm doing now? In the book of Philippians, Paul said these words, some of the most profound words in all of Scripture. Says this, I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is a full stomach or empty, with plenty or with little. For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. That's the heartbeat of the 10th commandment, isn't it? To be content, to find satisfaction in God ultimately, to have our desires fulfilled ultimately by Him.